Well, Ford Motor Company seems to be lost in the wilderness, and much of the cause appears to be because they've shot themselves in the foot with their current plans. Ford states things are bad because they're not selling enough EVs. Yet, the Q3 figures show the best Q3 for a long while, and EV sales really healthy. EV factories for making batteries and EVs, which they've already started, costing millions, if not billions, have recently been shelved, and the emphasis has returned to ICE cars and trucks, which they now claim are sitting in dealer lots unsold for far too long. In fact, some dealerships have already given up and sold up. Is it too many EVs selling or too few? Well, Dave takes a much deeper look. I'm Dave. This is Dave Takes It On. Well, first, let's see what Ford actually say just 2 days ago, and I'm quoting from their report. The global auto industry continues to be in a period of disruption, especially in Europe, where the industry faces unprecedented competitive, regulatory, and economic headwinds. Okay. They also say Ford today announced plans to create a more cost-competitive structure by further reducing its European workforce by 4,000 positions, primarily in Germany and the UK, in consultation with social partners. Well, Ford has a proud 100-year history in Europe, and over the past 4 years has made significant investments to transform its operations, retrain employees, and build the next generation of electrified vehicles. And Ford reiterated its call to action for the industry, governments, unions, and social partners in Europe to all work together to create the conditions for a successful transition to e-mobility. Well, this seems to be a right mishmash and contradictory, because only a few weeks ago they released their Q3 2024 figures, which paint a very different picture. There they state company net income down 0.3 billion due to EV-related charges, i.e. probably their abandoned factories. Ford Model E revenue was down 33%, wholesale down 11%, EBIT, earnings before tax, margins, effectively pre-tax earnings, down 104%. 104. Looking at the whole year, wholesale is down 17%, revenue down 43%, EBIT margin down 153%. Well, their conclusion, the Q3 2024 results are that the long-term value creation made possible by a winning lineup of internal combustion, hybrid and electric vehicles for retail and commercial customers, combined with an advanced strategy and global footprint. Many people seem to disagree. I regularly watch a YouTube chat channel called Car Questions Answered with Brandon, a used car dealer in America who relies on the new car sales at dealers to supply the trade-ins for what he sells. He says the sales are not there as Ford has priced itself out the market in a strategy that states openly they've abandoned all the budget range of cars and trucks, switching to premium priced top-of-the-range vehicles because as the number of sales drops, which they are, they need to make higher profits per car sold. And the results are only partially successful. You see, Q3 for Ford Blue, that's the ICE cars and trucks, shows wholesale down 2%, revenue up 3%, and EBIT margins up 6.2%. Yeah, but that was actually just a really good quarter. Year to date shows wholesale down 3%, revenue down 1%, EBIT margin down 3.8 percentage points. They state openly it was Ford Commercial that propped up the whole company. But once again, company actions show a very different picture. AutoNation have a number of dealerships in America and they've just sold to them. They've got out. The Atlantic questions if the public will buy them. And now Michigan Battery Plant has restarted despite not being able to sell enough EVs and making a loss somewhere around $50,000 per EV sold. Still. Well, don't forget, Tesla took more than 10 years to break into a profit. Ford, and indeed GM, are nowhere near that point yet. Even here in the UK and Europe, Ford is shutting plants, laying off workers. but it is unlikely to work using the current strategy. Let me explain. To concentrate on selling the high-end premium cars that are mainly ICE, the customers need to be able to finance them. Once again, Brandon, Car Questions Answered, is reporting that the finance is absolutely collapsing. I strongly recommend you watch his channel. If you don't want an EV for yourself and you're relying on people like Ford Motor Company to be able to sell you decent petrol and diesel cars in the future, Brandon is actually an expert and knows what he's talking about when he says they won't. Don't guess, listen to an expert. Well, the first modern EV Ford produces was the Mustang Mach-E back in 2021. That was over 13 years after Tesla sold their first EV, the Roadster, and almost 10 years after Tesla began their first mass-produced EV, the Model S. It sold out. Ford ignored it. Became Car of the Year. Ford ignored it. In 2015, 2016, it became the top-selling EV in the whole world, and Ford ignored it. By 2018, it had sold more than 250,000 cars, and Ford ignored it. And when they did eventually launch their first model, it was initially priced at around $10,000 above the petrol version. It turns out it was made in Mexico, and that increased production costs had wiped out all profits by the following year, when they were forced to put up the price another $10,000. Oh, by the way, today's price has crashed right back down to about $38,000. List price is reported to be losing still an average of about $40,000 to $50,000 per car sold. Ford needs a strong, consistent strategy to get themselves out of the mess they have made for themselves. A mess that was caused by repeated policy changes over the role that ICE and EVs have into the future. And the future is electric. There are now a number of states that impose very strict air quality standards that ICE and hybrid cars just cannot reach. And no, the federal government, even with a new president, cannot set air quality standards in individual states that are legal. EVs are here to stay, but Ford does not yet have a dynamic strategy to catch up. He's hoping that the Michigan EV plant is the start of Ford taking EVs seriously. Once again, don't just take my word for it. Check out the experts in America that provided all of this data. Try watching CQA. It will open your eyes. So link to that channel down below. I'm Dave. If you have enjoyed this video, please click the like button. If you'd like to see more, click subscribe. It makes such a difference to a small channel like ours, but it does allow us to notify you when we release future videos if you'd like to see them. And many, many thanks to our Patreon members who support the channel. Details of Patreon also down below. I'm Dave.